We we are live.
Cool.
Um, yeah, no one on yet. I did this. I planned this very poorly. Like I was just like I don't have anything to do tonight, so and my kid's gone, and
You put it up pretty early. I
yeah,
just scheduled mine a little bit ago because I
so
wasn't sure how I was gonna feel, but I feel fine.
yeah, that's good. I got tired my first day after my first vaccine. Like I was just tired.
Hmm.
I didn't feel like shit or anything. I was just kind of like drained, and then got a got a good night's rest and woke up and felt normal as fuck.
Yeah. I'm tired to begin with. This week. Oops.
Yeah,
This
I'm
week
sure.
was long. It was long.
Did you say oops for cussing?
Yeah, cause I just forget sometimes.
You can cuss on the
Yeah,
stream.
you're not monetized, so it doesn't matter.
No, I'm a loser. Uh,
That doesn't make you a loser.
Here, I don't know
Oh.
if you can see there. Like, can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Oh
put it on
yeah.
there.
Yeah,
So,
dude.
yeah, he did all the routing and everything himself, and he said it turned out fine. So I'm gonna.
Yeah, you can order the jig and everything, and
Hmm.
like with this style, with the telly style,
Yeah,
super easy to route it out,
yeah. I
dude.
was leaning towards getting that RD and putting it on that, and then I was kind of like, well, maybe I'll just put it on one of the other guitars I have, or just build a new one altogether. But I, I don't know.
You know
Either
what's
way,
fun?
he's gonna order me one. So.
That's awesome. You might have to, you know,
Yeah, he's if you decide you want to pull the trigger on him again, I don't know how many he can order in his sitting. You know what I mean? But
right.
I don't know if he's able to abuse that power too much. But
You should abuse it, regardless.
yeah, if I were him, I would just order a handful of them just to fucking have them at that price. It's like more than
Yeah,
half off.
yeah, yeah. Um, you know when we were talking about I was gonna do a build, and I messaged a couple people
Hmm.
about like, do you want to throw in on it or sponsor or whatever?
Hmm.
Um, I thought I had messaged Guitar Fetish,
Yeah.
but I had messaged Warmoth, and they're the ones who responded, who said like they would like to, but because of everything's going on, it's just not a good time. But
Yeah.
keep them posted. So I thought I was talking to Guitar Fetish the whole time, and I just read the email back the other day, and it's from Warmoth.
Nice.
Yeah. So since I ended up with the Warmoth neck, which actually is going to probably work out because now I have a little more, you know, some.
You've built a little bit of a relationship there.
Yeah.
At least the beginnings of one. Yeah, they're good people. I talked back and forth with that dude a few times before the fucking. I even had the YouTube channel, and he's pretty receptive to things.
Yeah. The neck is
He,
stellar.
yeah.
I actually think I kind of like it, like as fat as it is.
What's up, Reed? You're here, but it says you aren't. But it appears as though you are.
Well, you know that restream.
Oh, there it goes. It finally realized that you were there, Reed. Uh, Dude, restream's weird. We could do a whole stream on how restream sucks.
How you probably have been running into all sorts of fun stuff doing the podcast, huh?
Yeah, yeah. It's a little easier because I'm not streaming it live. Like we're talking in real time, but I'm just recording it.
Right.
So when there are errors, the one thing I noticed with that, this is not exciting, Reed. I'm sorry. Uh, so, anyways, the one thing oh, you definitely exist. I mailed you something. You at least have an address. Uh, One or the other, either that or I just sent something to a random place. Uh, anyway, yeah, man. You'll get like moments where it glitches and then catches up,
Yep.
but then on the download of it, it doesn't happen at all.
Oh, really?
It's just not there.
But you're like waiting and reacting to the glitch.
Yeah, there's some weirdness, but like, yeah, it just isn't there. The glitch isn't there when you're not live anymore. So I don't know if it has time to buffer and then it just fixes it. But like,
Maybe. Yeah.
either way, what are you into, Reed? Since you're the lone wolf here, what are you
Yeah,
into?
bro. How's it going? So usually when I upload music while we're waiting for Reed to respond, like I get a notice like, oh, it's been approved for this store, that store, this store, and I uploaded Wells pretty early,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a shocking amount of bands or albums with like Wells or Anoxia, believe it or not.
That makes sense.
Like when I upload it, it'll say like Wells, and then like if you were just like the douchebag McGee group, and you were the first one ever, it would just
Mm-hmm.
say douchebag McGee slash the album, but it said
Mm-hmm.
Wells number 6, Anoxia number 2. I'm like, I'm like, really? I thought I picked a pretty obscure word, you know?
Isn't there? There's a band that I follow on there that's like Tropical Thunder Cunt or something. Like they have a fucking ridiculous name.
But yeah, now I gotta set up the
You
get
got booted
booted.
and you're back. There's two of you. I'm not streaming to Facebook anymore. I've completely eliminated that bullshit.
Yeah,
It's not worth it, man.
Facebook blows.
Like on the nights where we'll have like busy streams and this stuff picks up, there's no one ever on the Facebook one. Like,
Right.
so it's not even worth fucking with it. And I imagine it probably makes the streaming a little more difficult because it's going to multiple sources. I may be wrong though. Anyhow, let's see.
Yeah, I don't know.
I had topics that I'd written down that I intended to possibly use as suggestions on band lists.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna. Well, it's basically one suggestion with different concepts. So, anyways, since we have some folks watching and Reed watches the band list thing, and you're on it, it's your thing
Yeah.
with Bun. So I have the concept of negative inspiration.
Like things that.
Like, I learned it from Doug Stanhope, which is, if that's any indicator. So a lot of artists didn't become successful or find their stride until way later in life.
Right.
Like Bill Withers, the singer, he was not really a thing until his late 30s, early 40s.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously had a pretty big career and a lot of hits and stuff, but his career didn't start till then. Sturgill Simpson didn't have a career till he's 36. Didn't even start his career, really.
Yeah.
So, but for some folks, like, I think that, like, and I think the point that Doug Stanhope was making, and it kind of was like, oh, this could work in that context, is that sometimes it makes it okay to be like, I don't need to do it now because such and such old fuck did it later.
Oh, sure.
So I have more time to prepare for it. So that whole like concept of like you have your whole life to write your first record, but only X amount of months to do your second type of thing. But if you're looking at it from the perspective of like negative inspiration, you can be like, well, this motherfucker waited till he was 45 before he even got off the couch.
Right.
So I've got time, but the thing is that maybe you don't.
Yeah, and the thing is, I know what you're saying. I know
Yeah.
what you're saying. There are external factors that will kind of motivate you to think like you can rest on your laurels. But the fact of the matter is like he was probably working at it that whole time.
Without question.
And then finally something happened. I didn't know that about Bill Withers. I knew like Charles Bradley before he passed away, obviously.
His career didn't
was
start
so
till he was in his
short.
60s.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he was doing shows before that, but basically James Brown impression stuff. Because there's some footage of that on YouTube. You can find him like playing shows in the early 2000s, and it's just like him doing a set of James Brown material.
Oh, wow.
It's still good. It feels a little weirder because he seems like he's being very genuine doing a thing that's an impression of something.
Right.
And that kind of makes it odd. I think the most odd thing is that it's with like a trio that also played before him, and then the one guy just did like jazz talk at the beginning of it. But like what's up hip cats and dudes and all like this shit. I was like, the fact that this happened, whether it was 2000 or 2 weeks ago, and someone didn't walk up and be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, we realized that GameStop closed early. You're here now. Let's not, Like, I don't know. The guy just was like, it bummed me out. Because I love Charles Bradley, so I like stumbled upon it. And I was like, oh, I'll check this out. And it was good when he was doing it, but when that dude was doing the intermission, then I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I would have left at that show if I didn't know who Charles Bradley was.
Right.
Then that guy got up and did that. I'd be like, well, it's time for me to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, way to kill the mood. So yeah, negative inspiration. I don't necessarily know that it's valuable enough to do a whole episode, but
No, because there are other aspects of it too. There's also like guys who think they're super good
mhm.
and don't have to like put effort into A, B, or C, i.e., practice, write, promote, and then even with all the skill in the world, don't do dick. There's that too. Um,
Reed, since you're on board, I'll pull your thing up. Uh,
I
well,
feel
there's
like that
that.
all the time. I
I'll
feel
be
like that
real. I
because
felt like I was on borrowed time when I was 14.
I feel like I genuinely wasted my 20s. Now, when I
For
say
real.
that,
What is
obviously
that, Robo?
what's up, man? I had kids,
Mhm.
but like I wasn't. I was just working and being a dad and watching TV and just flailing. I didn't. Obviously, I was playing guitar, but I wasn't really putting any effort into it. Um, so I always felt like I've felt like I've underachieved most of my life. So I had this like constant nagging, like you need to do, you need to do, you need to do, you need to accomplish something.
Yeah, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that a bit myself. I have periods of time where, uh, admittedly, like I guess this is a whole conversation too, but like I was bad at for self sabotage stuff when I was younger.
Oh sure.
Like I would get into positions where I'd be like, okay, this is going okay, and then I would just be like, fuck it, I'm not doing it. Like, or something would make me upset, and I would just completely quit instead of being like, give it a few days, work it out.
Yeah.
More often than not, my personal life would interfere, and then I would be like, well, such and such I'm dating is gonna be mad if I do this, or blah blah blah. Just dumb shit that had no real bearing on anything.
Right.
So there's that.
Yeah, I definitely had some degree of that too. Like, um, just a lack of follow through got me in a
Oh,
lot of
without
fucking
question.
trouble.
Same. Same.
Just making shit hard on myself for no apparent reason.
Yeah, and I'd get in positions where I would convince myself I couldn't do things,
Yeah.
or like see that someone else seemingly didn't have to work as hard for a thing that I had been working really hard at for a long time and was not at that place.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that's luck and timing and such, which is whatever. I mean, you can't control some of that shit. But at the same time, it's also like it's disheartening to like put your all into something and see someone just basically throw shit at a wall and be like, "Look, it's working out for me."
Yeah. Yeah, that's when you have to like. I mean, I think that's when maturity kicks in.
Yeah.
And when you're younger, you're just like, well, fuck that.
Oh,
He
without question.
he got that, and I don't have it. And
Dude,
then
I mean, I don't have those feelings at all anymore, but when I was younger, I definitely had them all the time, particularly, like, mostly based in jealousy. Like, this dude's doing this thing that I want to do, or, like, fuck that, I don't know, fuck that band because they're not good, but for some reason they're doing this thing and I'm not doing it, and I've got all these great ideas. But the thing is that, well, I haven't really realized my great ideas. They're just ideas. This person got past that point. Like, they overcame the hurdle, you know?
yeah.
It was weird. I grew up around musicians that became fairly successful pretty early.
Mm-hmm.
Like I grew up with, like, Casey from Hawthorne Heights was my best friend when I was a kid,
Oh, jeez.
uh, and we were all in bands together. Started playing music in the same time, like at literally around the same time. We all got instruments for Christmas, like when we were like 12, and some of us did stuff, some of us didn't, and then it's weird, uh, because those dudes at a certain point, like, were all in different bands and they weren't doing anything really, like still flailing.
Yeah.
And then the things that I was doing seemed like I don't think I understood that other people are equally passionate about things they pursue.
Mm.
Like, as stupid as that may sound, like,
No, it makes sense. Makes total
what's up,
sense.
Bun?
Bun word?
Yeah, I kind of was at a place where I was just like, oh, this, like, you get stuck in your own cycle of thinking. Like you feel like no one else is doing the thing you're doing, and that's not true. Especially when it comes to music, everybody's doing some version of the same fucking thing, even if it's a different genre. They're all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You're all kind of chasing the same dragon, essentially.
Yeah, ego's a weird thing because
Well,
that's what it boils down to.
without question. Like fear of failure is a thing too. I mean,
Oh
this
yeah, I spent so much time being worried about like people's opinions too.
ugh, there's that. The funny thing is that like I don't know if you. I mean, you and I are pretty similar in how we approach things. I feel,
Yeah.
but I definitely was like worried about what other people thought. But at the same time, if you ask me, I'd be like, I don't give a fuck what they think.
Well, that's what you. Yeah, it's like you say that.
What's up, Aaron?
What's up, Aaron? You say that to basically like I don't. I still do that, and that's why I think I've mentioned this before. Like when it comes to my weight, I am just so brutal with myself, and Tony will be like, "Dude, like you are so hard on yourself." Really, with anything, like um, if I'm not productive enough,
Mm.
if I making little mistakes, putting the guitar together, stuff like that. I'm so hard on myself. And she's like, well, this is your first time doing this. I'm like, I don't care. Like my expectation is like genuinely probably unrealistic, but I need that though. Like it's just how I am.
No, I get it. I do the same thing. I've learned how to adjust to it. Like I kind of, what's the topic? Sorry, I just got here.
Yeah, we're just shooting the shit,
We're just kind of shooting the shit, but more so talking about
being
ego in
bitches.
relation to success and stuff. Being frank with yourself is very useful. Yeah, I get to the point where I just like think about it like your bank account, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, prepare to be disappointed. All right,
Yeah, yeah.
like you can't go. It doesn't matter where you're at with things. It's very rare that someone like unless you're one of those rare savant folks that just like walks into a thing. Like I know dudes that are musicians that can walk into any instrument and get a gig.
Mm-hmm.
Like and they're way more in tune with it. Um, Maybe savantism, I guess.
Yeah.
Just a thing that's not a thing for me personally. Like I have to work at shit to get good at it. And there's some people that are just naturally inclined to pick up certain tasks in a way that doesn't feel,
Oh
effort
yeah, yeah,
driven.
yeah, yeah. I
But
know
most of those
people like
people,
that.
when you talk to them, are pretty hard on themselves too. So I think that's part of being a creative person is kind of thinking your shit stinks all the time.
Right.
The painting is never done. I guess is the thing. Like you have to accept limitations and learn to kind of live within them. It kind of becomes easier over time. I wish that I had, that's the thing. Like you can, in retrospect, it's you know, you can look at a thing and be like, oh, had I just kind of looked beyond that and been like, oh, I'm still doing things versus like I could be doing more and I'm not doing enough. Like, I don't know. There's so many fucking situations where you can look back in hindsight and be like, had I approached it differently? But it's kind of neither here nor there, right?
Yeah. Like I go in and out of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I'll go back and listen to my music. And that's a whole nother thing too. I listen to my music all the time
Mm-hmm.
because like Bun and I say, like I'm writing it because it's kind of stuff I like to hear.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean it's spectacular, but I'll go back and listen to stuff and be like, you know what, this is good. I think I can objectively say X is good,
Mm-hmm.
and there's times where I'm like, I am this age, I should be at this level with guitar, you know. I I just it just it ebbs and flows so much, and that in itself is like can
What
be
what is up, meat puppet?
annoying, you know, having to fight that shit.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Like I've always been, with band stuff, I've always tried to write like I don't know, the corny cliches. You like want to create music that you would want to hear,
Yeah.
and that I've always kind of tried to approach it from that perspective. There's definitely stuff that I don't know, shit from when I was a teenager and in my early 20s. I don't want anything to fucking do with it, but like because it was just bad and uneducated and I wasn't there yet. But I don't know. It's weird. Like now, I feel pretty confident in what I'm trying to get after, and feel like I can get to the place I want to be with it pretty quickly. But there's still part of me that's like, oh, I could have done this. I could have done that.
Yeah.
Well, most of that comes down to like final product stuff, or like I don't know. It's like you can always look back at something and be like, oh, like I could have added, this or whatever. I don't know. I tend to look at it from a more minimalist perspective at this point, where I didn't in the past. Like it's like how much stuff can I cram into the space, and now it's how much can I get rid of. Like I think I've talked about this before. Like if I'm writing a song or like doing things, I'll take like 8 to 16 bars of a
Mm-hmm.
singular part, and then what does that say? Bun. Sorry. I don't know what people are. It's the same thing with like hearing your voice on a fucking voicemail for the first time or something. I don't know, but it just goes through your whole life. Uh, but anyway, yeah, I will take like a certain fraction of an area, like or just like whatever will become a riff or whatever, and then I'll do all of it, like do the guitar parts, 2, 3 guitar parts, do all the drums, then add all of the ideas
Mm-hmm.
that I have,
Mm-hmm.
like literally all of them. Like, oh, this melody could go here. I'll put them all there, and then I just start taking shit away, like, because if I can remove if I can remove, like say I have 20 tracks and I can remove all of them down to 5 and still get the same feel out of it, those 5 tracks are probably the better version of the thing.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because it's whole at that point. Like if
Yeah.
you add something and it doesn't truly add something to the feel or the overall vibe of a thing, then it's really not adding anything other than it's appeasing you, and that's fine too if you want to do that.
Right.
But like the other part of it is that if someone is listening to it, are they going to notice that thing? And at that point, you literally are doing it for yourself. If those little nuances and stuff are, or whatever, you can, sometimes those things are the cool part of records, but other times it's kind of like, how much do I need to get the point across? Um, I think it was, I covered this on a live stream in my car a couple months ago when I was talking about working with Drew Mazurk, and
Yeah.
he
I think
he
oh,
showed me that.
go ahead and finish. I didn't mean to
Yeah,
interrupt.
he basically showed me that. Like I had a bunch of ideas, and we came in with a lot of tracks,
Mm-hmm.
and like everything was quad tracked, even like leads and things of that nature. Where there's 4 to 6 of everything, and then like additional concepts and layering, different guitar tones and all this shit, and different guitars. Because I thought like, well, if we're taking it to this guy who's done these bigger records, I'm gonna, go all out and make it have all those things that I think are on huge records.
Yeah.
And then he's like, guess what? We're deleting all this. Like, so like all of those extra tracks, he's like, which this one sounds the best in the context of the mix. So you don't need those other 6 things, because the idea is there, and then it will give breathing room to everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I quad track sometimes, but Road Bull is to chime in here. I still quad track. However, I only quad track in choruses or parts that need it. I do as little as possible in verses now. I will even get down to where there's no stereo anything, which is something I have to kind of battle through sometimes when I'm working on stuff with other members of the band too. It's like, well, we can do everything in stereo. Yeah, that's cool. I I feel like dynamics increase by removing certain things too, not just associated with that idea I stole from Drew, but like if there's only a single guitar and it's slightly lower and slightly different in pitch, or not pitch, but in overall tone in a verse, when 4 guitars come in the chorus, it's going to sound huge by default, even if it's the same volume,
Mm-hmm.
because you've taken all the meat of that verse part and kind of condensed it down, so that the parts that need to be bigger and feel bigger have that thing. And I also automate to 1 to 2 dB boosts in every chorus that comes back out immediately,
Yeah.
in and out. So anything that's a chorus is automatically louder, like just a hair, enough to make it jump out. And so you can automate compression and shit through that stuff too, but that's a whole lot of work.
Yeah.
Like you were saying.
Um, I forgot, but until it comes back on this topic, I go back and forth with quad tracking and and stereo pair stuff like that. Like I and oh, I know what I was gonna say. Um, that is also a positive or a negative of like being a solo creative. Like I will go nuts with layering sometimes, but also I like it, and I don't give a shit what anybody says. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I like hearing little things going on, and I also like I because I grew up on like certain types of Swedish metal. I like layering riffs that sort of like blend together, and you can't quite tell if it's two guitars or one.
Yeah.
Um, so I like doing that. And when you quad track, it gives it like a washiness that I like to. I don't always achieve it because, and I'm not trying to sound like some pompous prick, but I play very, because I've been recording so long and playing to a click, like I record very, very tight.
Mm.
So sometimes if I want a little bit more of like a vibe to it, I'll quad track something that most people would just double track because I want like a little bit of waver. If I have more,
Mm-hmm.
if I have four tracks playing those riffs, then I get a little washiness, and that's what I like. And yeah, I also use it as like emphasis on parts too. Like sometimes it'll just be a double tracked, and it's good and it's tight depending on what's going on, especially if there's vocals, and that's obviously something I need to work on is making space for other stuff,
Mm.
as Wells goes forward. But yeah, sometimes I'm all about the minimum for what's going on, and then there's also time that I like bearing ear candy. That's just
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I mean, because it's fun, you know.
I like the ear candy stuff a lot. I think I actually feel like I'm going to do a video soon, like breaking down how I write a song for Close the Hatch, because I think that would show off some of the stuff. But yeah, I don't. I like to have little things that I notice, but I also get to a point where it's like, how much is this serving me, and how much is this serving the song?
Yeah,
And sometimes it's okay for both to exist in the same world. There's nothing wrong with it,
yeah,
but it just depends on what you're work. If you're doing something that's purely your own, and purely like if you're doing solo material that's riff driven, like your solo work, it doesn't fucking matter how much shit you put. It's your representation of what you want to hear.
yeah,
But if you're
totally.
working in the context of a group of people, you kind of have to like balance those things.
Yeah,
Uh, Baritone Cult. Aaron had a
yeah. I
question
see it.
here. Question on headphones when tracking bass. Any advice on hearing bass better? Do I need a specific set? Uh, I mix bass in a weird way. So and I think Nick mixes his bass completely different too. So
Probably.
um, I tend to do a lot of subtractive stuff. Like not a lot, but enough subtractive EQ with the guitars in areas that I can. I did a video on this, I think. Or you can, if you carve out a section of say 80 or below, like your low pass filter at 80 or whatever you want to do at 180, 90, somewhere in that area on guitar, uh, by default, having the bass peak a few dBs in those sections you've just removed will allow it to come through a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Also, um, I don't know if I can screen share with you on here. If I can, I will attempt it. But I'll bring up an EQ and kind of show you what I mean.
When I'm tracking,
But
while you're looking for that, um, when I'm tracking, Aaron, I don't typically have my two bus mix stuff on, so I got my levels down. Like I bring everything down, so like it's peaking at like -12. And if I am recording bass, I'll sometimes even drop it even more, put it on a VCA fader, and bring everything down, so that I can hear what I'm doing. Um, yeah, but mixing is a whole nother thing as well.
okay, let's see here. Can I screen share here? I feel like I felt like I could.
Yep, there's that little. There should be a little like circle. It looks like a laptop with a strike through it.
Yeah.
And then if you click that, you can select a window or screen.
Okay. Well. All right. It's picking up my stupid mic right now, but I'll mute it because I'm just showing you by example here. Let's get rid of this mess. All right. So if I'm doing bass and my, like, just for reference here, if my guitars, I don't know if, can you see this? Because it's being weird on my end.
Um,
Is the
you have
EQ
a
itself not viewable?
no. Oh, so you'll probably have to.
Let's pick that as another screen.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, you'll have to pick that as the window.
This is weird. All right. I guess screen 2 maybe. There it is. Okay, so if I'm cutting 80 on the guitars, if that makes sense here, allow it. It's just being silly. Sorry, fellas. There it goes. And usually in guitars, I'm cutting, somewhere around 15 for this example. So if I'm doing bass, going back to default, I would be doing the opposite of that. So I'd be taking the 80 here. Sorry that you can hear my thing, the microphone.
Dude, it's fine.
So I'd be boosting that, 1 or 2 decibels, more so depending on the song. You can also go back in here and cut some of this excess shit off. It just depends on what you want to do, which I usually do cut out stuff up until about 50.
Yep.
Because you don't need any of that weird sub stuff that's not really audible anyhow. Now, the stupid thing that I do, and I've started doing lately, is I think of things that are not necessarily present in the bass automatically. So I don't really have an audio file here, but basically what the long and short of it is I basically like go somewhere in the middle. I find where the peak frequency is in the center, like where the bass is kind of hitting, and I let the whole thing ride out like that. I don't do anything else to the end of it. Unless your bass for some reason is like fieldy bass and you've got some clacky bullshit happen on over here, then you can get away with that, and it's going to make the bass cut through. Now, I maybe I'm answering this question wrong. So before I get any further with this, are you wanting to feel the effect of low end on the bass, or are you wanting to hear the bass guitar? I think that's the other question.
Yeah.
Because if I may be saying the wrong thing and you may be saying the wrong thing, but in the respect to hearing the bass better.
I think he's talking about tracking.
Got it. Okay. See, I'm stupid. Let me close this out.
Tracking, Aaron, I guess, is probably just going to be volume stuff for the most part, I would say. I also
overdrive.
Sometimes I'll mute, like, if I really want to be tight with the guitar, I'll mute one of the sides just so I can hear what I'm doing. Also, I don't know, like, sometimes I'll play with everything going and, like, I can't completely hear what I'm playing, but I know what I'm playing, so if it sounds good with the guitars in the mix, I kind of don't, like, do anything extra insane. But, yeah. I mean,
I don't use a specific headphones, just set of headphones for just bass. I mean, most lately I've either been using the HD9s or whatever, which Nick got me hip to from the fine folks at Personas.
Yeah, those headphones are no joke.
Yeah, they're great. They are a bit bass heavy,
yep.
But if you have the SonarWorks thing, you can cut some of that
SonarWorks
out.
cleans that right up.
So in this instance, if you're just wanting to hear more bass, then maybe
those might work.
Track with Beats headphones. They're super exaggerated in the low end. But as far as just hearing it in the context of a mix while you're actually tracking, I think it would just be EQing it to the headphones, not necessarily to the song or the final mix, but do what you've got to do for your, monitoring purposes to EQ it to be heard better. I still feel like we're not answering your question, but there's a slew of ideas.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Yeah, it sounds like if you're just talking about tracking, Aaron, it's like just somebody had a really good suggestion about, like, setting a hotkey for Meat Puppet has a hotkey in Ableton that he just hits and it brings levels of other stuff down. That's the main thing, is like If you want to hear what's going on, bring the levels of everything else down. Have your click loud, you know.
Yep.
And I mean, if you want to click, I don't know. You can still have groove if you play to a click, in my opinion. But that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, that's all about swing.
Yeah, yeah,
You want more clarity in the headphones if possible. Yeah, I think you would want to just try out a bunch of pairs of
yeah.
headphones
It's
until you find
tough.
one.
It's tough.
Yeah. These were fairly inexpensive and they're pretty bass heavy. That's my only
They
real
are. They are. So if
comment on them is that
mm-hmm.
they're a little too bass heavy. But if you have something to roll it off, then it's cool for mixing. But if you just want to hear it, yeah, I don't know. You're out. I think these are like up 2 pairs of them on Zounds right now is $175.
Yeah, are those $80
Yeah,
right now? Something like that.
yeah. And they're on Amazon too, so you can get them pretty quickly. That or get the set of in ears that I use sometimes on the channel here is super bass heavy, and they're literally like in your ear hole, so that might be an option. And those are about $250. I don't know. I would just try, like, I guess the best thing you could do is just maybe just get on one of those sites, order 4 or 5 sets of headphones at the same time if you can afford it, and then find the one you like and send the rest back.
Yeah, Zounds is nice because you can have like, I don't know, three things out if you want to do the payment plan.
Mm-hmm.
So you could order like 3 sets of headphones, pay just, a fifth or a third depending on what they are, and then find the ones that sound the best and send the others back.
Yeah, I've toyed with the idea of doing that to try things out on the channel, but I also...
They'd probably get hip to it pretty quick.
Yeah, not to mention I've emailed back and forth with them a few times asking if I could do such a thing, so probably not the best idea.
Oh.
Speaking of which, not necessarily speaking of which, but are you able to hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. I'm using that microphone that the fine
Sounds
people
good.
sent me.
Fiffin?
Yeah, it's pronounced fine, sir.
No.
Yeah. They said that to me on the email, and I was like, really? But yeah, that's how they want it pronounced. It's fine. So it's fine. I made a video for them. I haven't yet to post it because of this going on today. So I'll probably do that this week. Yeah, it's not bad. It was like, I don't know. I think they're like $60 or something. They were like $67 or something on Amazon. And it's great. It's the same microphone as the Blue Yeti for the most part. Like it's
So
the same.
It's the same
capsule.
guts? How'd you find that out?
Some Googling. One of the, what you call it? One of the Reddit streams that came off of it mentioned that it's literally the same casing and uses the same capsule and diaphragm. So, and if you go look at the Yeti and you look at this is just a black Yeti. It's the same fucking mic. So I imagine that they, probably just use the same company and anodize the body a different color.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, the Vintage King is a good resource, although they still owe me $50. And so if you know someone over there, you should let them know. I was working on a return for software, which I'm not supposed to do returns on software, but I bought an upgrade of SonarWorks, thinking it was the full one. And
yeah.
I was like, oh, I fucked up. So I bought the full one. But they were like, well, we'll refund you for the thing. Normally we don't refund for licenses. And I was like, well, all right, well, I can't do anything with it, so it'd be cool to get my money back. And they are just like, we're not really sure how to process it. My thing is like, you just send the money back. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, they're a great resource. I get weirded out by Vintage King because everything on there is so fucking expensive, and I want to buy a lot of it, but I'm not gonna. They're good people though. Like their customer service has been amazing. I just put them in a predicament, so it's probably my fault.
It sort of is because you didn't read.
Yeah, I'm stupid. Well, I was just excited to try it, and I was like, oh, it's like it is what the period. Like that's the one thing that's happened with COVID is there's been so many like online sales like just blooming up because everyone's at home not doing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's a thing. So I got excited. I was like, oh, this is like $50 for that software. Cool. It's normally a little bit more, and I think it's about twice that or more. And then I just bought it, and then realized it was the upgrade package. Uh,
Oops a daisy.
yeah. Yeah, Zounds sent me to. Yeah, so here's the
I
thing
mean,
that.
shit happens.
Yeah, I think Nick and I both kind of discussed this lately. Like, fulfillment centers can make mistakes like that pretty honestly. Uh, Especially when things maybe aren't where they're supposed to be or they're not labeled properly. And it's real easy. Or, like, in some instances, like, the places that it comes from before it goes to the fulfillment center does something wrong or ships the wrong fucking thing.
Yeah,
And
that's
then,
what happened. My situation. Like
yeah,
it's not anybody's fault that where I where I
it's
bought this
always a
stuff.
bummer because if you order something, you get excited about it, and then it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh, you
yeah.
can't.
I think that's what it is. It's like your
Yeah,
patience, your
for sure.
excitement overlaps or supersedes your patience, and you get a little like, what the fuck, man.
Yeah.
I was just looking at the bass for one of my tracks, and it's pretty minimal. Like I think I rolled off. I could probably share it.
Yeah.
Not that he was asking for fucking mixing shit,
Yeah, we completely went on a tangent, which is not
but
unusual.
deal with it. Let's see. Oh,
I'll let you in. There you go.
yeah. So this is that last Nick Hill track, Humanity. Um, yeah. So I'm rolling off at 41, a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of boost at 94, a little bit of cut at 211. Um, Fab Pro Q3 is dope because it's got like compression in it. So I'm compressing the clack because I do
Mm-hmm.
like a little bit of clack. That those high end harmonics help the bass punch through, in my opinion.
Yep.
Um, so I
Uh,
usually go a little heavy with it from the helix and then try and dial it back. I know it's kind of counterproductive and everybody has their own opinions and you can keep it to yourself. But
Doing
like,
it wrong, man.
yeah, hey man, why are you doing all that? I don't know, cause I like to. And then I am cutting a bunch. I can play it, you won't hear it, but you'll probably be able to see what's happening.
I'm bad for redundancy and stuff like that. Yeah, it makes sense. I have the whole Fab Filter suite too. I love it. The
Fab Filter's so good,
Q
man.
and L2. I love.
L2's on every track.
L2 unfortunately will make a lot of my projects crash for some reason.
Really?
Uh, Not when I'm using it, but when I go to reopen anything that has L2 on it, sometimes I have to open it like 3 times before it'll pop back open.
Oh yeah, Studio One just introduced like a safe mode when you open stuff up now,
Yeah.
which is pretty dope. But yeah, so you can see I got some clack happening there, and it kicks in,
Mm-hmm.
dipping it, um, and then I'm compressing it.
Using
One,
the
I want
distressor, eh?
a real version of this, like we were talking about 500 series stuff. Like,
Did you see that they just put out a plug-in, like a new one?
really?
The people that made distressor, yeah.
That's what's happening now, because SSL they just put out all their solid state stuff, all of it. Like you can get it all for a one-time purchase, or you can get it all as a subscription, or you can get the things that I use, which is the channel and the bus compressor, for like either $5 a month, something ridiculous, or a one-time purchase. So they give you the option to do either, which is pretty
Yeah.
dope.
I slept on that stupid when it was $50 because I was like,
Me,
oh, I
me
don't really
too.
need it. And then I
Yep.
was like, the other day I was like trying to get Wave stuff, and then their special went off. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go over there and grab
Go.
that.
Have you look up the wave stuff you want on Sweetwater? It's still on sale on Sweetwater.
Oh well, that makes it cool.
I just noticed it a couple days ago.
I got one plugin or one suite from Waves not that long ago. The plugin is called the Optical Labs, or which call it? It's called the Arouser revision 2.0. It's the same developers that made the original physical distressor. They make a modern version of it in the
Yeah,
form of a plugin. It's $120.
that's
Um,
cool.
yeah, what I got some plugins today. The RLS suite from Waves. They were on sale for $30, and they used to be like $200.
Dang.
Yeah, it's just it's a master bus compressor. Uh, I'll show you. Let me pull the thing up. We'll do this again. We're having fun with screen sharing.
Screen sharing's fun.
Yeah, cool. Seems like nothing is on sale anymore. Stuff is just going. Yeah, physical things seem to be kind of the bullshit.
Well, most of this stuff it's some portion of the physical thing is a supply chain issue. So,
Yeah. Um, I think some of it. Let me move to another screen here. A lot of it is that a lot of things are coming from China, and there's some pretty big manufacturing delays over there. All right, so I have this is just a pre-mixed drum kit I use, but hopefully I'll be able to show you if I can get in here. All right, is it showing? Okay. So you can also hear my jet plane taking off because my MacBook has that sweet fan in it. So anyway, there's an L bus. This is a master bus compressor, and there's three of them. So there's a Neve, and then this one that is more like I think a SSL type.
oh yeah.
And no, This is the SSL. This one is something else. Either way, this is the Neve one.
Yes.
It came with this, and then this other plugin, which is a summing channel. It basically just emulates a single channel on a Neve console.
Yep.
And there's the SSL one and whatever that one is that I'm drawing a blank on. But anyway, yeah, I got that suite today. It was $30. It's normally like $200. Yeah, they work great, and you can slap them on everything. They are mono and stereo, so my overheads I have the stereo versions on. As you can tell, I basically do the similar signal chain on my whole mixed out drum bullshit. And then, yeah, all the EQs are different and shit. But yeah, these are all Pro EQ, the Pro Q stuff on the kick. Anyhow, that stuff's awesome, and it was fairly inexpensive. And I got that, and my other, I use the Pultic EQ a lot, but which I don't have on this. But that's my, shut up. That is the whole thing there when I'm doing drum stuff or whatever, and whatever. It's just pre-mixed drums, and they're already.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
I find myself gravitating towards the SSL stuff.
Yeah, the SSL. There's some SSL stuff emulation inside of the Slate bundle too.
Mm-hmm.
And let me get rid of this. There we go. Yeah, it's all good. I'll slap a bit of it on there. I'm still toying with whether I want to keep
Same.
my Slate stuff.
I've been going. The only problem is for like archival purposes. If I need to open an old project, some of them have it everywhere. Some of them have a little.
Yeah, I run into that problem too. That's the only thing that's making me not do it. But then it's also like the Waves. They're not Waves. The Slate stuff never goes on sale.
No.
Because I've been like, well, I'll just buy the 3 or 4 plugins I use regularly. Because well,
they don't do that on purpose.
Yeah, the virtual mix rack is still $150.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I had that, and then basically that and the compressor suite, and which I don't necessarily need anymore because I have the Waves equivalent of the Fairchild. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's a tough battle, right? Like I can dump out like $600 at once, basically, to get all the shit I'll use in perpetuity, or just continue to pay the $15 to have access to it, which, it's whatever. I'm sure that long and short of it is I'm probably just going to keep paying for the thing.
Yeah, and there are, not that I'm trying to sell it to anybody because who gives a shit, but like they will put out like sound packs, which are cool. I mean, I use it for obviously not my metal stuff, but I use it for other things.
Yeah.
Which I enjoy. They also have a bunch of cool classes, like master class type shit. Is somebody breaking into my house right now?
No, that's Burgerland, dude.
Oh, it must be Burgerland. The UA stuff has always been, yeah. I have an Apollo twin,
Hmm.
like a quad one before the new gen, so it's an older gen. But that thing, first of all, the thing is sick. Like the preamps, the sound quality, the zero latency, it's amazing. But yes, the plugins, like I bought a handful over the course of the year I've had that thing, just because it's too much, man. It's too expensive.
Do you use the Apollo a lot when you're tracking stuff, or are you still using your Personas thing?
I haven't used the Apollo for some time, because I was using it with it's the old Thunderbolt,
Hmm.
so it's plugged into my iMac, which my son is using.
Gotcha.
Um, so I mean, he has no idea how spoiled he is. He's on my iMac that still runs great with an Apollo interface, and he's producing. Because he's been learning to produce, and he's been kind of going hard at it and
Yeah.
uh, learning FL, which is kind of cool. FL's pretty sweet.
I was looking into the Apollo Solo or Duo or whatever, and
Hmm.
it's great. And then I ended up just buying this thing instead,
Oh yeah, the
the Apogee One.
Apogee stuff's good too.
It's also completely plug and play with Mac because they're
You
like a
can go into
partner.
an iPad in that too, can't you?
You can.
Yeah.
There's like it's super quiet, like almost zero latency with them, and for being USB, but it's only one channel at a time.
Hmm.
Uh, Either the instrument or the microphone. You can't do both. But yeah, it's great sounding device. I think I got it for like $80, so I can't bitch. Check back in a few. He's going to track. Okay. We got about 10 minutes left, and then Nick's starting his own stream, and I'm gonna sit here and continue eating my dinner,
No,
watching.
we
I
have an
just wanted
hour. We have an hour
we
between
had an hour.
streams.
Oh well,
Yeah.
fuck me. Uh, I guess I'm gonna sit here and keep chilling. The Yeah, I don't know, man. I have the Quantum, and I love it. It sounds great. Pre's are super cool, super noise free,
Yeah.
really amazing sounding. I'm not really using it to its full capability. I do plan to, but I've been kind of toying with the idea of getting a more upscale, smaller interface,
Hmm. Yeah.
uh, because I know I'm not using the Quantum to its full capability. But I also was just like, well, Quantum's cool, but it also takes up a big chunk of real estate on my desk, and I don't have a ton of rack gear.
Which Quantum do you have?
Let me pull it up because there's a few of them now, aren't there?
There is. Yeah. Probably the 2626.
I believe so. That's super cool. You can hear me beating the shit out of my keyboard. Um, I have the 2632.
Ah, Thunderbolt 2.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I kind of want one because I don't know.
well, I've been looking at. They have a 4 channel version of it,
They do.
and they also have they have USB C interfaces now.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm kind of leaning towards just for like basic tracking stuff, and they have either that or the Apollo or the Apogee Duo or what the fuck it is.
The thing I like about the Apollo is you can do X amount of, apply X amount of plugins to certain tracks, and it's obviously running on that on the device because of the onboard DSP, which
Yeah.
is cool. Like that's why, I mean, even without it, my iMac from 2012 still does a great job when it comes to music production because you don't need an insane machine. But with the addition of that, if I'm doing some heavy mixing, I can throw, half of the plugins right on natively on the Apollo and just frees up headroom on on the Mac. Dude, you don't need real. I'm on a USB 2 interface. You
Yeah.
know, it's a 1824. It's a USB 2. Everything other than a specific USB C. As a matter of fact, I would be willing to bet that even the USB C Personas ones are still technically running on the USB 2 interface. Just
Probably, yeah, there's different cable.
yeah, because you know, you don't necessarily need the throughput. And I know like people will bring up latency and stuff like that, but latency only comes into play when you're monitoring through your DAW, through your interface,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I
If I'm using
never
the
do. Never.
no, if I'm using the Helix or whatever, I'm monitoring mostly. I mean, I'm monitoring it through my interface, but it's it's processed through the Helix, so there's not real
Right.
no I can still hear everything. Um, I don't know. I see some folks talking about USB. I don't sweat the USB thing. I mean, I still have Steinberg UR22 that gets pretty regular use at the house.
Yeah, those
My
little
wife,
Steinbergs are great, man.
yeah, I gave it to my wife, and she uses it, but I still use it occasionally. I was using it traveling for a while. I just wanted something that fit in a tiny little bag.
Yeah.
So that's why I went that way because I don't need a whole lot when it's just me by myself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's nothing wrong with it, man. They're all great. If you can find one that works, especially if you're just tracking guitar stuff, that's not that big a deal.
Totally.
And as long as you know how to like change the settings inside of your DAW, you know, if you're recording, it needs to be one rate. If you're mixing, you can bump it up. So just as long as you know how to do that stuff, you're not going to really run into any problems. The limitations really are in your
Yep.
machine.
Yeah, we've gone over this tons of times. If you're the kind of guy
Yeah.
playing through plugins, you have to have a smaller block size so that you lose the
Mm.
latency playing through the plugin. But that obviously is more taxing on your machine. And then if you're mixing, you want a bigger block size so you can apply more plugins and have more overhead, CPU wise. But it adds more latency.
Yeah. Uh, no, you're not.
No.
It's you can do both. If your computer's keeping up with it and you're not noticing any sort of audible latency, or you don't feel the latency between your playing and
Yeah.
the information getting back to your ears, then it's fine. And use whatever you have that works. I think that's the idea in general. Is just do what you want. If anyone is noticing me singing, I'm sitting on the edge of a bed to do this, and the bed is memory foam, and it's memorizing my ass right now, and slowly sinking. uh, so I keep feeling like well, I'm a lot lower than I was a minute ago.
I want to watch
All
a
right, there
time
we go.
lapse of it later where you're just like, and eventually you're like,
No, there's nothing wrong with any of that stuff, man. I don't know. I used I had, let's see, M Audios. I had an M Audio 2626 early on. It was one of my the very first audio interface I had was an Alesis interface, which was a huge piece of shit. But it was I'll see if I can find a picture of it. It was an 8-channel interface, which is why I got it, because I wanted to just be able to, like, from day one start tracking. That was like 2000.
we all want to track drums right away. Well,
Yeah.
I'm probably at some point gonna track drums, so I'm gonna definitely need these tracks. Yeah. See, Reed, that's why I'm fine with the USB 2 interface, and most of us probably will, especially if you're using an outboard, like Steven said, something outboard for guitars. Even if you're miking a guitar and going in to your interface, or like in my case, I got Helix going into my interface, and then I hear it all. So I don't need, I have my block size as big as possible. I don't need to worry about latency when you're doing it that way. The only time it comes into play is when you're plugging your guitar into your interface, you're monitoring through your DAW, and you have a plugin that you're listening to your guitar tone. That's when you want your block size to be small so that your latency is short. Oh, look at that thing.
So
Fucking
it's no longer made. Yeah, I had that, and it was huge. It was an eyesore. It had, like, it was Firewire 400 or 800, I can't recall. It's Firewire of some sort.
It's sort of
yeah, there we go.
reminiscent of the fucking Apollo, believe it or not, just stretched out.
Yeah. So it had a lot of, like, all this shit is there that would have
Spit it,
made it a really
coax.
cool thing.
Yeah, totally.
But they from day one didn't support driver updates.
Ugh.
So, like,
So it's
I got it
useless.
when it was on, like, Mac Mountain Lion or whatever the fuck. I don't know when they were still doing the cats.
Mm.
If you remember that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it just never worked. I think at one point I finally got it to start working with GarageBand, and then they updated to Snow Leopard,
Mm-hmm.
and Dumb Me updated, and
You couldn't
that was
use your
the
thing.
end of that interface. Yeah, like it just stopped working. So I sold it on eBay and never looked back
Yeah.
because it was not cool.
Man,
But I went from that immediately to the M Audio 2626, the Profire 2626, which at the time was like $1,000 interface. But when I worked for Guitar Center, I don't know if this Guitar Center Insider stuff. If you work there, there's a backdoor website called Gain, and Gain basically was like manufacturer direct pricing for employees that would be selling their products.
mm.
So, like, they would basically be like, "Oh, well, this thing is normally this, but the actual cost on it's like this, but we'll give you a discount on top of cost if you get it, and then it helps you make sales."
Yep.
So I got the 2626. I got it for $275 brand new,
What in
and
the
and
shit?
yeah, and they were $1,000 like on the shelf where I worked, but I got it for $275. And what's up, 13 Flaws? And then when all of the first wave of the reissues of the Way Huge pedals came out,
Yeah.
those were all $25 a piece. So like I snagged every one of those initially, and then waited a while and fucking sold all of them to make the money back, because like I was able to sell them for like $75 a piece used versus the 25 I paid for them. Anyhow, it was a racket, but they would also fire you if they caught you doing that. But I never got caught because I'm not stupid.
Right.
But well, what's up? Hey, Anthony, 13 Flaws. Yeah, man, I don't know. There's the M Audio was weird because Avid and M Audio became a thing. Like they became a joint
Oh yeah.
organization, because there was that whole period of time where there was like 4 fucking versions of Pro Tools as a result of that merger.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Pro Tools LE, Pro Tools HD, Pro Tools Empowered, and then there was like another one. Like I was just like, okay, but then none of the stuff was compatible. So if you bought like Pro Tools LE, the full version of the software, but you had an M Audio interface, even though that they were the same company, you couldn't use them.
Stupid.
And that cost them a lot of business. That's why a lot of people switched over to using, Logic and Cubase and
Yeah.
whatever. That's when Studio One joined the world. Like the first version of Studio One jumped on the market because they knew they were actually going to be a reasonable competitor.
Yeah.
Because Pro Tools was fucking up hard at the time. I got no beef with Pro Tools at this point. It's not my thing. I don't enjoy using it, but I get it. But I think it's good if you're running a full facility that basically does a lot of going back and forth between different suites, like different people mixing and stuff. It's good to have them. I got no issue with that. I also feel like it's a little more user friendly when you're dealing with strictly audio, like strictly wave file
Pro
editing.
Tools?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, if you did, I don't know. Like I know a bunch of people that are Pro Tools certified, like did the fucking courses and stuff,
Yeah.
and they blast through all those edits and stuff. But at the same time, I never got hit to it. I did have a cracked version of Pro Tools HD for a while, and it was just a mess. Truthfully, I don't know. I've been using I started using the Studio One version 5 or whatever this past few months,
Mm-hmm.
but I still lean towards Logic because I've used it for over 10 years.
Yeah.
So since Logic 8, when it was still in the big box that looked like a
I genuinely feel like that's why Pro Tools is still in business, is because so many people got into it early adopters, and it's a pain to switch DAWs. It is. I mean,
yeah.
I first used Cool Edit Pro,
Yeah,
if anybody remembers that.
I had that. I had InTrack before that, and it was like the first free audio recording program that was like unlimited tracks. There was no.
Ooh, that's not what I started on. I started on
It's-
like Digital Orchestrator Pro,
I remember that. There was
which was
no options for like EQ and stuff in that
yeah.
track. It was just like you
No,
could have as many tracks as you want, but there was
you
no.
could
You
pan
could pan
and
them and
volume.
turn it up.
Yep.
Yep. So like there was nothing you could do. I did record like 2 records with it when I was a kid, like when I
Yeah,
was in like high
same.
school.
A lot of I played some demos that were recorded on Digital Orchestrator Pro,
Yep.
and then I used Cool Edit for a while, which ended up becoming what is it in Adobe now? Audition.
Audition. Yeah.
And then I went to Reaper, I believe, and I used Reaper for a long time. Um,
Reaper
tried
solid. If you're
Pro Tools a couple times. I remember using oh shit, I used Reason too. I used Reason before
Reason's
you could
cool.
really use audio in Reason. It was just
Yeah,
everything was
that
MIDI.
Reason is weird because it started out as just Reason, then it became Record and Reason. They were two
Yeah.
separate bits of
Yep.
software,
Yep.
and then they merged Reason to be all encompassing. So
Yeah.
I know a couple guys that still use Reason full on, and it's just because it's something they got used to. I
Totally.
will say that there's a lot of amazing synths in there,
Yes, there
and
are.
like redrum
Their
and
drum
all that.
machine's
Like
amazing.
yeah,
I love the
a lot of
routing.
like a lot of great records were made and had additional recording stuff done using Reason. I know. I'm trying to think what is the name of that record. Visu, that Thrice record. All the stuff that sounds like it's programmed is all Reason.
Cool.
And but at the time, like you could think of like that was like what 2005 or six. So yeah, like
Yeah.
it was that was all like that the programming stuff and then moving on. But yeah, there's all kinds of great shit in there. Rebirth's cool. I enjoyed that. I never fucked with Goldwave. I know folks that seem to be into it. I had buddies that used Sonar for a long time, and then Sonar like got changed to something else.
I feel like I used Cakewalk for a very short amount of time.
Yeah, Cakewalk is Sonar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's called Cakewalk again. I believe it's through something else. But the two pals of mine that used to use it, they both switched to Studio One. Reluctantly switched, but they basically Cakewalk, Sonar, whatever it is, made it impossible to migrate from previous generations without buying full versions. Whereas you used to be able to buy upgrades for like $50 a year or something, like, or whenever they would put up a full new version, you could just upgrade for like $50. They made it to where you had to buy a full new license and
Excellent.
or do the subscription based thing, and which is what Pro Tools does. And a lot of people bailed on it. I feel like I get the Pro Tools thing if that's the basis. You know what turned me, like, I'll just be truthful about it. What turned me off to Pro Tools is I learned Pro Tools and got Pro Tools certified when Pro Tools was Pro Tools 5. And it was like when they still had the old I think they were called inboxes.
Yep.
Like when Focusrite and Avid were like working together and making the inbox stuff, and then you had the rack mount inboxes, the 8s or whatever they are. And that was when I went to recording workshop, so that was 2001. And it was just the worst fucking experience. Like, at that time, it was brand new, basically. Like, we're on Generation 5. I don't know where Pro Tools is these days, but because there's been so many versions of it. But, like, it was almost impossible to use. I remember they had us, like, learning the editing and crossfading. They had us do, like, learn how to do edits on stuff by doing The Warmth, the Incubus song with the whales in it, if you remember that song.
Vaguely.
To do a radio edit of that song, to, like, cut out some of the whale stuff and then cut out the cursing. And that was like part of our training to learn how to use Pro Tools with key commands. And I was like, this sucks really bad. I think the thing that Pro Tools had, the advantages of Pro Tools had, not to mention that they were just industry standard at the time, but the biggest advantage they had in making it run on pretty much any computer is that the GUI and the software itself was so bare bones and stupid looking.
Yeah.
That it could pretty much run, because audio doesn't take a lot to process.
Right.
and there wasn't a lot of image processing either. So it actually did make it run better by not having like
True.
a graphic interface.
Yep.
And it wasn't until, as computers got more powerful, you started seeing all these companies have more pleasing color schemes and imagery and the GUI stuff from even just using plugins and stuff. Like if you look at the early, you can still buy them if you buy like the Renaissance bundle from Waves. They look like some shit that would be on Windows 95 still. And you can buy them right now and they still look that way.
Yeah.
But everything looked that way in that era. And then as time went on, graphic design stuff associated with the GUI stuff all changed, and that became less of a thing as the computers could handle more image processing at the same time. So they started like try to make it more visually pleasing, and I think that was kind of the downfall of some of the other ones, is because like there's a lot of focus on how it looks versus how it functions.
They were also super slow to adopt like new feature sets that were coming out in other DAWs that were like, oh, this makes so much sense, and they just dragged their feet on certain things forever.
Yeah. I will say that's a cool thing about like I mean like the Studio One folks, and I read a lot of stuff because you guys got me hip to that, and I've been kind of getting into it. It seems like they're really receptive to suggestions.
Oh yeah, they love the community and the forums, and you can upvote new feature set, new features, and yeah, I mean, pretty much everything they put into an update to some degree is been a requested feature that's been upvoted, other than bug fixes, and that's cool. I mean, what better person to take advice on where they can improve than the people that are using it?
Dude, 13 Flaws, I'll pull it up. Since we skipping some comments here, I apologize. I have
No, GarageBand is dope though.
GarageBand rules.
Like,
yeah, I don't know. That's what I used when I switched back to Mac.
yeah, before I got Logic, I used GarageBand a bunch.
Yep.
And
it's still cool.
It is. You can genuinely make good music on GarageBand.
The GarageBand used to have some limitations because it was trying to lead you to Logic. Yep. And they've kind of removed all those barriers, because you used to not be able to set your audio output past 16-bit. Like, you used to not be able to pull in certain plugins, things of that nature. Now you can do everything you can do in the others. There's a different workflow, and it's obviously not as detailed, but you can quantize in there. You can run plugins, any plugin you want, as long as it's AU, and you're fine. I don't know. I mean, it does everything that any other thing does.
Yeah.
It's just a different visual experience. It's honestly a little cooler in some respect.
Every DAW I use reads. Oh, go ahead. Oh, I want to get Omnisphere. I just don't want to pull the trigger on the cost.
Yeah,
I think. How do I have it? I have it somehow.
I'm not familiar with Zebra. I had a hacked version of Omnisphere back in the day.
Yeah.
It was great. It's so big that like the files are huge.
Yeah, it comes on a fucking hard drive now.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
Then it was like fucking 10 discs.
Oh, good lord, yeah. No, they just send you you can just buy it on an SSD.
Yeah. Yeah, it was super intensive on your computer to run it. I used to did all the complete bundles from Native Instruments. I used to up those every year because I bought one in full, and then I would just do the upgrade, like 75.
Oh yeah,
or whatever.
they make great stuff, and I have a buddy who basically lets me use his complete. He's a sweetheart, my buddy Joel.
All of the synths, and that's the one thing like I miss Massive, and some of the synth stuff that was in the Native Instruments kits are amazing.
Yeah,
like spectacular stuff.
Yeah,
they're fun to fuck with. They're also like my problem. Like I've got like Logic has so many synths and stuff in it, but like I can get fucking lost for hours having too much shit to fuck with.
Oh, for sure. I think Logic is the instruments and the synths they give you. It's bonkers that it's just part of Logic. They're amazing.
Yeah, that's always been my like kind of thing. If I try to encourage people to check it out, is that like if you're willing to, it's only $200 for 5 perpetual licenses, and it's not like you only have 5 ever, it's like, okay, I don't have this computer anymore. I'm taking it off this one, and now I'm moving into this one.
Yeah.
So you can just keep going with it. But man, like the amount of shit you get for what you're paying for, like
The only
it's
thing,
wild. Like there's 300 some gigs of stuff on there.
yeah, the only thing I never, and I know we talked about this and like, you made some suggestions, but like, just because it's so streamlined and simple, snapping and crossfades in Studio One are just ridiculously easy. I just select 2 adjacent audio clips, hit X, and it does a nice natural crossfade.
The crossfade is the jam in Studio One. You can do it in Logic. It's not as smooth.
I just wish it was that smooth.
If
I
it
bet I
was,
could do a macro.
Yeah, you probably can.
Now that I'm thinking about it, but for like, I mean, I've produced stuff, guitar-based stuff in Logic a lot, but I like doing like electronic and hip hop stuff in Logic. And then they added all the step sequencing stuff, which is just ridiculous. And then the blocks, basically, it's sort of like bringing in a little bit of Reason into Logic, because you can have blocks and.
They have live loops now. It's basically Ableton now. You can literally treat Logic like Ableton.
Yeah, so Logic is dope.
And it's part of the program. You don't have to buy extra shit.
And it
like
runs
you can, like
so good. It runs so
you
good on a Mac. On you know.
Oh, if you're, that's like I'm stoked about M1 for Logic.
It runs insane on my M1.
Yeah, like Logic is only $200, and if you, just putting it out there, if you're a student or you know someone who is a student that's in your house, or you want to lie and say you're a student, you can get the academic bundle from Apple.
That's another $200 off, isn't it?
It's $200 for everything. So you get like
Final Cut.
I'll pull it. Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up again. Screen number 2, because I am in school and I've been looking at it. But let me drag a tab over here. Whee.
I'm gonna go grab my burger. Is that all right?
From Burgerland?
Yeah. Need my.
I can't spell today.
Is it Burgerland?
It was Burgerland.
Burgerland.
All right, so there's this academic bundle. If you are someone who is interested in Logic, and or even if you're interested in Final Cut, if you have or had a student ID, or you can get one of some sort, you can basically get the entire suite of plugins from Apple here. So you got Compressor, and this is a color grading one. Main Stage, Logic, Final Cut, all of these are $200 for every program. Now, Final Cut by itself is $3.99 or $2.99 right now. This is $1.99. This is like $30. I don't know how much these are, but it's a cool deal. The difference is, instead of you getting it right now, you have to wait 1 to 3 days and they send you a code. But once you get the code, then you just go to their app store, and then all this shit is yours for $200. So that's my suggestion. If you're able to do it, even if you have a former student ID of some sort. I don't know what the actual back-end process is, but you may just be able to do it without actually having to prove it. So do a little bit of Google research and whatnot, and you may be able to snag your way into it, whether you actually are a student or not. I don't know what the checks and balances are. I'm planning to do it in the next few weeks with my academic aid stuff. But yeah, I know that if you order one of their computers new from the educational site, you can include this as part of your order, and they pre-install all this shit. But yeah, $200 to get all 5 of those programs is an incredible steal, because you're already over $600 just with 3 of them. So
that's dope.
Yeah, and again, I don't know what the checks and balances are in relation to how they prove whether you're in school or not. I don't think there's much they can do about it.
I think they're pretty diligent.
Yeah. I don't know. I found out about this because I was Googling, before I purchased Final Cut, I was trying to find, hacked versions of it. Mm-hmm. And I found during the beginning of COVID, they had 6-month trial or something like that, and I used it through the 6 months, and then I was out. So I was trying to find a solution, and versus me like trying to fake my way through another email exchange and stuff to get it again. I just was like, oh, I'll try to find a snagged version of it. But then I stumbled upon this, and there was a bunch of videos on YouTube of folks saying that they had gotten it this way with absolutely no checks or balances. So the difference is that if you buy it now from the App Store, you get it now. If you buy it through this, it's 1 to 3 days before you get the code for it. So there's some wait time, but if you're willing to wait the 3 days, cool. Like I said, I don't know what the minutia of it is because I haven't done it yet. But I am a student and I'm in school, so I do plan to get it. And if I find out, I will let you know. Because if they don't ask me for information pertaining to my student ID and shit, then I will let you know. In which case, go nuts and buy the shit out of it.
Yeah,
because it's an amazing deal. So I'll cut this off.
I already have Logic, but I mean, you may as well do that just to get Final Cut and the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, and compressor's solid too. I think depending on the country is how deep the checks are. Okay, well, that may be a thing too. I'm not certain. I'm sure a quick Google would answer that question.
Apologies for my eating.
Let's eat it, dude. How is Burgerland? Are you in Burger Heaven?
Dude, actually, it's not bad.
Nice.
For as dumb as the name is.
Maybe that's what's in it. Is they got a stupid name,
maybe
but
they
great.
did it on purpose. Yeah. It's tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah. There's a bar here called Laughs, which is spelled Laffs, because, dumb.
Mm-hmm.
But their slogan is lousy food and hot beer. And it's a good slogan.
Yeah.
They have the opposite of those things, and it works.
Set the expectation.
Congratulations, you've received 100 messages. Well, you guys are tearing it up in the chats over there.
I'm really into nerding out on this 500 series stuff.
Oh, the lunchbox stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, man, we're going to get into some murky waters. Yeah, I've been looking at getting a three slot. I guess
See,
is
I'm
how
looking at like 6 slot.
Yeah, I feel like I should at least like get a couple of
Try
pre's
some
and a nice
stuff out.
compressor, or like get a pre and EQ and a compressor, and then if that ends up being something I use frequently, then cool, I'll dive in. But just the units that I've been looking at are like anywhere from $300 to $500, so it's like, yeah, big cardboard tubes. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but you let me know. Fill me in.
The thing is, I don't know, like, what companies, like Wes Audio makes some. Whoa, that is not cheap. Never mind. Good gravy. Like they're cloning bigger things, real world things, but like what's what, you know?
Yeah, Cappy C API are clones of API stuff. Those are top of the line as far as I'm aware. We have a few of them in the studio at Encore. We use them on records. Those are great from what I've experienced with them. If you just like API channels, just added EQ and preamp stuff. Warm Audio makes some stuff that's a clone.
Warm Audio makes good stuff, and it's pretty affordable. Okay, so they do have like a G-Bus compressor.
Yep, and then there's
oh my,
Golden Age. I think it's called Golden Age is the name of the company. They make some stuff because they make a Golden Age 73 that's like a copy of a 1073. Neve, the actual Neve company, makes
this
500 series stuff.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's why this SSL G comp is so much, because it's actually SSL.
Yeah, I mean they're legit. There's some shit ones. I've gone down that whole rabbit hole of looking at what are the cost-effective ones, and it seems like the ones that are cost-effective are getting really horrible reviews. So,
I like Warm Audio stuff. I've listened to it and talked to their dudes at NAMM several times, and
Dude, I love the warm audio shit. Like those are great things. Those and the golden age stuff I'm way into. Uh that's kind of like, I don't know, man. I'm in the wife and I've been talking about building an actual studio at some point in the future, and
I know I'm excited when you told me that. Like,
yeah, I think this whole 500 series thing is also me tiptoeing my way into like, am I gonna need external hardware, or am I gonna be an in the box dude?
well,
Uh, but I kind of want a little bit of each.
same.
I would like to at some point have enough outboard pre's and compression to do at least 4 things simultaneously. Mostly just for like kick, snare, and overhead stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you a vacuum cleaner tube doesn't do the same thing as okay, got it. Cardboard tube as didgeridoo.
Oh,
That's
they're
fine.
talking about didgeridoos. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the warm audio makes a Pultec EQ clone that I'm really interested. Like, it's the most regularly used EQ I use for passive EQ stuff when I'm doing stuff in the digital
Mm-hmm.
world. I would love to have a Manly one, like Manly EQ massive passive, but it's like a $4,000 EQ. They're really impressive and they sound amazing. But the problem with passive EQs is that you can literally dime everything on them and it's still going to sound
Yeah.
good. It's just there to kind of like kiss things.
Yeah.
So I want the warm audio one's like $400, and the warm audio 1073 clones are fairly reasonable, and then they make some compressors that are fairly reasonable. I feel like
Yeah, their 1176 compressors are like $599, and they're
yeah,
stellar.
so I feel like for like $1,000 to $1,500 you could get a pretty good rack of stuff going for that.
So they have a bus compressor, which I'm pretty sure is an SSL clone, and it's $699. It's a full rack, not a 500 series, but still pretty dope.
What is Gurmel EMP?
Oh, plugins, right?
Yeah, I also read that as Gargamel because, you know, Smurfs and I'm stupid.
Gargamel.
Oh boy.
Smurfs.
Yep, there it is. Man,
World.
that's a whole rabbit hole. Yeah, man, there's no shortage of cool shit. I'm looking forward to see if the free show people do more stuff.
Oh, I know.
So it's been those 3 plugins for a few years, from what I understand, but it'd be cool to see them put out some more wacky shit.
I love creative stuff like that. You know, and it
Those
really
plugins are super useful for as silly as they are. They're actually really cool. I use the back mask on almost everything now. Like if I'm doing something that's like droney and melodic, the back mask is on something.
yeah, it's it swells that reverse swell is just sick. Yeah, this warm audio stuff is pretty sick. Yeah, I mean, I just would like to have like you said, a mixture of both. Send like some key components through some outboard gear and get a little bit of maybe some, warmth.
Yeah. So I was talking to my buddy Sean, who runs Encore, about starting a facility, and I was like, telling him like a list of things that I was interested in. He was like, "You don't really need that much outboard stuff. Like, get a handful of pre's, a nice compressor of some sort, no matter what it is. You don't need a bunch of them, and an outboard master bus compressor if that's something you want to use, or some outboard EQs." But he's like, otherwise you really just need pre's and a nice compressor, because the rest of it you can do inside of the DAW, and you end up kind of, he's like, I have it all, but I end up kind of just by default just going to the plugins because it's easier, because I can't take, like, I do a lot of mixes at home was how he explained it, and he's like, I can't take the physical things with me.
Right.
And I'd say that, guess that's the advantage of like
Mixing in the box.
yeah. The other thing is, like, I kind of would be cool with the idea of, like, here's how I look at it. If you're gonna get stuff like the pre's and the compressors and stuff like that, then maybe you just have to be okay with committing it,
Right.
and making hit that stuff before going to tracking, and then your mixing would just be, you know, all that stuff would just be saved, which is the way he's doing it. But he's like, sometimes you want to do something with it and you can't. It's just there now. So
See,
there's that.
the inverse of Road Bull's comment is like totally. I mean, you want good monitors. You want to be able to hear what you're hearing. To yeah, hear what you're hearing correctly, and mics,
Yep.
of course. Um,
Yep.
but it's amazing what you can get out of affordable mics nowadays too.
Dude, I've been looking at those Lewitt mics,
Mm-hmm.
the 440, and I've been looking at them for a minute. And then Andrew Masters, I don't know if you watch his stuff where he does like studio
Yep.
tours and shit. He did a review of their mic today, one of their 440 mics, and it was pretty impressive. And they're like $250 if I remember right. Like,
Yeah.
legit mics, fairly inexpensive, and yeah. But I'm with you on the monitor thing for sure. Like getting like I've been using the same Yamaha monitors for a long time. I've been looking at new monitors.
The space is probably more important than the monitors. You know, if you have
Yeah.
a treated space, you can get away with having a moderately priced set of monitors to get going. Um, that being said, I've had these 8-inch JBLs for so long, and I've never been in a good enough space to utilize them as far as acoustic treatment. So I got great
Yeah, if it's something like
monitors.
SonarWorks, you can make those monitors work for you.
Yeah, I need it. I need to fix my whole setup. You know, because right now my screens are
Interesting.
blocking my monitors because I mix so much in my headphones. You know, I'm every other YouTuber's nightmare.
I mean, I've got my the Yamahas. I've got them set flat. Like there's no exaggerate. Like they're basically emulating NS10s. Because on the back of them, if you look at them, there's like three buttons you can slide.
Yep.
You know, three directions. You can add highs, add lows, cut lows, add medium, cut medium. I've got it all set flat completely, which is the closest you can get them to the NS10s. And NS10s, I don't know if you've used NS10s, because when I've been worked for studios and stuff for the years, the places that had NS10s sound like shit. But if your mixes start to sound good by default because the speakers don't sound good. So if you're getting a good mix through the NS10s or something that's flat, then your mix is going to sound good on pretty much anything. So there's that. I don't know. I've been looking at the Atom stuff because that's what some buddies of mine are using.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Sean that plays with me and owns Encore. He switched from using Genelex stuff to using the Atom stuff. I've looked at the HS8s too. I even thought about just going to the bigger one, but I feel like I want to do something different. I've been looking at the Aris 44s and 66s from PreSonus.
Those are dope monitors.
And my dream set of monitors is the Barefoot Audio ones.
Mm.
The newer small Barefoot Audio ones that have the. I don't know if you've seen those. They're about 5-inch monitor, like 5 monitors, but they've got the passive thing on the side of it. I'm drawing a blank on the word. Passive radiator on the outside. On the outside of each speaker, and then that set has like a remote that comes out of them that has their default setting, and then a setting that emulates the NS10s, and a setting that emulates those Oratones, the cubes, and another setting that's just strictly mono. But basically, it's fucking like $4,000 for that set of speakers. But you've got like every set of speaker that is the major thing you would use to reference a mix.
Yeah.
Built into one thing, and I've been in studios where they have the full version of the Barefoot Audio stuff, and they're the best sounding speakers I've ever been in the room for mixing and stuff. But
Nice.
I don't know. It's like it's such an investment, and it's like I'm not. Here's the thing, and I don't know. Maybe this is where you are. I don't know. I'm not making enough money to validate spending money usually.
Yeah.
If I was making money full time on audio, then I would buy way more shit because I can replenish
Totally.
what's going away.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. You know, I guess I have everything I need to make music right now.
Yeah.
When music and YouTube start paying a little bit more, I can throw more into it.
Hmm.
Um, but I've gotten pretty good at mixing. I guess it's all relative, you know.
Yeah.
People are saying in the chat too. It's like what you know, what you're good at, what you've worked with. It's all relative. I I do use SonarWorks. I'll mix in these as I begin. I'll put SonarWorks when I'm starting. Like, I have a couple phases of mixing. You know, I'll do some light mixing while I'm tracking and recording, and
Hmm.
then more deliberate mixing, and then like, okay, this needs to be finished. You know, for uploading to DistroKid, I will make sure I do at least one like mixing session with SonarWorks on. You know,
Hmm.
these are flat and corrected with SonarWorks. Um, and if I get it to sound good, then I'll take the SonarWorks off and see how it still sounds, and I'll try it on other stuff, and you know, that's been working for me. Not all my mixes are perfect, but you know,
No, I think. I mean, I think what that topic. I'll just be truthful about it. There's a point I gotta turn. Like, there's a weird thing that's happening here. Okay, although this mic has its like a built-in because I'm using headphones through the mic,
mm-hmm.
and if
Oh,
it's
there's
up,
latency.
just it's weird because I can hear myself, but I shouldn't be able to hear myself. It's
Ah,
fine now, but for a second it was like robot now. I got no better way to describe it. Anyhow, another very popular YouTuber, without saying who, said something very derogatory about people using cheap monitors, and said it in multiple videos. We're talking like a guy that's got like 300,000 or 400,000 subs, and a lot of people like him.
mm,
Uh, and he has a tendency to repetitively speak poorly about people's setups and things in different scenarios.
yeah.
And now, I guess me complaining about it is talking poorly of someone else. But the thing is that I would never. I look at it like, let's say I was that dude, and I've got that audience. A lot of those people are your audience or coming to you because they don't
Are
know.
nowhere near.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're coming to you for input, but if you're dogging the thing they're using, like, you're just hurting them. But the thing, like, it's not even about their feelings being hurt. It's just like it's a shitty thing to do. But the dude went hard dogging on people using the cheaper Yamaha monitors and the cheaper JBL monitors and the cheaper Alesis stuff. That just whatever, or the old M audios. What were those called? BXA's, eights, A's. You know what I'm talking
yep,
about?
yep, yep.
And the
The
Rockets,
Rockets were,
KRKs and
yeah, they
stuff
were
like.
huge. They're huge for a while.
Okay, so the thing with all those companies is they make high end stuff too. But the reason a lot of people go with the other stuff, not just because it's cost effective, is because they're more readily available.
Yeah.
So, like, I know dudes that mix on BX8As or whatever because you can get them on eBay all day long for $100 a piece if one blows,
Mm-hmm.
but they still work and they sound great. Um,
Yeah.
with BX8A, you're right, Anthony. Correct. There's nothing wrong with those monitors. There's nothing wrong with the shittiest monitors, truthfully, because the reality of it is if it's a shitty monitor and you can make a mix sound good on it, it's going to sound amazing on good monitors.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before. It's like learn what shit sounds like on the stuff you have
Yeah.
because you know, like I mentioned, like I have these JBLs and they're good monitors, but I don't utilize them because in my space, I'm in a basement. You can see the fucking vents right, like you know my heating and cooling. It resonates. There's no point in me
Mm-hmm.
using them down here, and so I've just focused on learning how things sound in my headphones.
Right.
And if you do that with your affordable monitors, you
Mm-hmm.
too can start making your mixes sound good on your affordable monitors.
Right.
So there's obviously like, you know, if you're doing this as a career and you have the
If you're
financial
making the money, yeah, buy
overhead to
something
do
nice.
it,
For sure.
there's things, you know, sound treatment, quality monitors, microphones,
Yeah.
and you go from there. But if you're just trying to get into it and you're learning how to mix and you're a solo person doing it all on your own and you just want to start, like You don't need to jump in and get, whatever monitor of the day
Dude,
that
I've
Warren
mentioned it a
Hewitt
few
is
times.
doing a review on.
Right. I've mentioned it a few times on my channel, on the live stuff, the earlier live stuff when I was just doing it from my phone in the car for
Yeah.
that short period of time. Mix, dude, I can't stress how good the results are. Mix on the shitty headphones that come with your phone,
Mm.
because they're the like mix on AirPods if you have them. Like I've got these pieces of shit. Uh, I've had these for like 3 years since they first came out, and the thing's finally starting to not charge right. But
Yeah, you're right. I always
the point of
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, yeah, the point of making is that most people are going to be listening on these,
Mm-hmm.
or some version of it, or like a shitty set of iPhone free headphones, which I know they stopped giving them with the phone now, but like most phones come with some sort of shitty headphone. But that's more often than not going to be the thing people are listening to it on.
Correct.
So if you mix through those with those in mind, and if you go like here, this pro tip stuff, and this is kind of what the SonarWorks does, but if you go online, you can find EQ curves associated with specific types of headphones,
Yep.
and you can apply them to the tail end of your master bus, and then mix that way,
Yep.
because
Done it.
all it's doing is basically emulating what's on your ear, which is exactly what SonarWorks is doing.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that without having such a thing, and kind of emulate that idea by cutting the frequencies and stuff out based upon
Yep.
what's publicly available to you, through Googling, to find out what is the frequency range of a set of AirPods.
You can
What is
see
the
the
frequency
curve.
range
You
of
can see like the
Yeah,
theoretical curve of any headphone that's ever that you can buy off the shelf or
exactly.
off of Sweetwater. And I've done that before I could afford SonarWorks. I
Yeah.
looked at the EQ curve. SonarWorks is basically a linear phase EQ where they've tested headphones, and obviously not every set of DT990s are going to be the same, but I'm sure they do some sort of average. They test frequency of however many, and then they have
Right.
a set curve that's a profile, and it's just
Right.
applying that EQ, and it's a linear phase, so you're not having any issues, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why there's latency when you put on SonarWorks, but that's exactly what you do, and I've done that before.
Yeah,
If
it's such an easy solution. I don't know. I mean, this is very rambly, which is cool. But the whole thing is that like there's shit that's out there that's readily available. It doesn't cost money, or you probably already have it. All that there's all like go to the fucking dollar store, buy the cheapest set of headphones they have, and mix on them. If you make a mix sound good on them, they're going to sound good.
Yeah,
Also, another stupid thing I started doing recently, which looks ridiculous when you're doing it, but I travel a lot, so I just tried it. If your car has Bluetooth and you mix on a laptop, you can mix into your car.
yeah,
And a lot of people use the car for reference anyway,
right,
so you can mix in your car. You can make a mix that's specifically kind of built for car listening.
yeah,
It's kind of silly, but it's a smart thing to do it. We're going to bring this up because it's a good point. It's, yeah,
yep.
of course, yeah. You you have to kind of think of it in those terms. Also, like I'm bad. Like I don't know if you've seen my other room. I've got 30 fucking guitars in there. But like any one of them is capable of making a record.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't like it's cool to have the options. It's fun. But in the grand scheme of things, you should be able to work with very little. And honestly, I am at a spot with everything where like what's the least amount of shit that I need to do this, and be effective. It's the whole gear acquisition conversation's a whole other thing, but
Well, I
yeah,
mean, I pretty much did the Wells tracks on the Mac upstairs with the HX Stomp and Perfect Drums.
yep,
Is
yeah.
it?
All of my demos are one of my baritones, typically the EGC or the teal one, or the one that I've got with the weird Les Paul neck on it. That's a Telecaster.
Mm-hmm.
Um, into Helix as of late. Prior to that, it was like just either plug in direct into whatever amp sim for demo purposes,
Yeah.
and then Easy Drummer or Superior Drummer. I have Get Good now, but I don't use it very frequently. Um, you know, yeah, there is someone out there that does make spoons sound good. I'm not sure who he is, but it wasn't Mama fucked it up. Soundgarden wrote a song about.
Yeah, Spoon Man.
Yeah, uh, yeah, I don't know, man. Just if you got shit, use it. Be cool with it.
Yeah.
Also, that's a good way to develop. Like I know, as elusive as it may be, to develop a sound is to use what you have. And that's honestly how most people that are famous for a certain thing became famous for it, because that's what they had. Like Tom Morello has had the same Marshall amp his whole career and used the same, 6 or 7 pedals his whole career.
Yep.
And I mean, he's replaced them as they've broken with the same pedals again. But, that's there's that. We've talked about this on other streams before. Like the things that like Stevie Ray Vaughan had or the Beatles had or whatever had nothing to do with because it was the Beatles that like it had everything to do with who they were writing the songs.
Right.
The gear they were using was just because it was the gear that was available to them in the area they lived. It had no with becoming iconic later on in life. It was just like, well, the store up the road has Rickenbacker stuff, and I can get whatever cheap solid state Vox thing if I go to the States. That's what we're gonna use. Like, that's what we have now.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean, there's a saying in video where it's like, story is king.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what camera you have. If you have a good story, it's going to translate. The same thing is applied to music. And it's of course it's cool to nerd out on gear, of course, and play with new stuff and plugins. Yes, obviously, but like, that's also, it's it's futile to like think you're going to be fulfilled by getting this, that, or the other thing. Like, Tom Petty, so many Tom Petty songs where him playing, or him or Campbell playing through telly into a Princeton, and that was it. Maybe a pedal. Like, you don't need much if you got a deep,
No,
if you got a song.
Right. I'm a firm believer. Like, I actually kind of I made myself go back to doing that on the last closed hatch. Like, if I can sit down and play something on an acoustic, which I don't play acoustic a lot. I have a baritone acoustic at home, and I did some of the tinkering for that record on it, and some of the ideas were just played cleanly, basically.
Mm-hmm.
If the idea translates enough, it'll translate. It's the same thing with every song that's like a huge success that, I don't know, like Everlong, in my opinion, one of the greatest rock songs of all time.
Yeah.
But it works acoustically just as well, but it's because it's a good fucking song. It has nothing to do with whether there's like a 16th note fucking hi-hat and distortion happening. It's a good song, so it's going to work. Obviously that doesn't necessarily work for like super metal-y stuff, but at the same time, if at its core, most stuff is pretty simplistic. You just need a distorted guitar of a certain variety and a good drummer, and there you go.
Yeah.
Like, and now we all have the fortunate reality and kind of crutch of being able to make our own good drummer.
Yep.
By programming and things. So there's that.
Yeah.
We're getting down to about 10 minutes before Nick's stream is to start, so I want to give him a chance to jump off and get prepared for that. So the
point is, we all have way more at our fingertips than we realize.
For sure.
To make music.
Meat Puppet. I kind of want to do an almost acoustic record. Dude, I've seen Steve Von Till acoustic from Neurosis, Reed Engel, both Steve Von Till and the other guy, which I'm drawing a blank on, who I know his fucking name. Either way, they both put out acoustic records regularly, and they are both really, really great and
Let's
equally
do it. We'll be the new Tantric.
Weird. God, Tantric. Days of the New before that.
Yep.
That Travis Meeks was a fucking mess. Scott Kelly, you are correct. Not Scott Lely, but yeah,
Scott
whatever.
Lely.
Dope Smoker might translate acoustic if you're high. For sure. I think if you're high enough, it's going to work.
Most things do.
Yeah. Scott Kelly and Steve Von Till put out solo records. They're both acoustic. Still basically the same type of material as Neurosis, just very, very stripped down and bare bones, and it works fine. it works. It's all about the intention. If the quality's there and what you're saying translates to the listener, then that's what fucking matters. It doesn't matter how many cool gadgets were in there
Yep.
fucking with it. That stuff's all fun. It's great. I'm obsessed with all that bullshit. I think all of us are to some degree.
Of course.
But yeah, if you can do it with little, why not just do it? I guess that should have. Sometimes we need Bun to mediate. Is all I'm getting at.
Yeah. He's our voice of reason.
I appreciate everyone watching and going down this roller coaster of random with us, as often is the case. But
Yeah.
yeah, jump on Nick's stream here in a minute. I'll be in the chat with you.
Right on. See you guys in a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. It was good, good chatting with everybody, and good chatting with you, Nick.
Of course.
All right, I'll see you in a moment.
Niels.